Greetings, fellow lords and nobles. This is Baron Darkfireslide of the Kingdom of France, and I've heard some rumors and false allegations that Aristocratic Ideas are perhaps the worst idea group in the game for military, just after naval ideas. Well, I am here today to prove those allegations false and help you to join the aristocracy. Please follow me. The first thing you'll want to do on your rise through the lower classes is adopt noble knights. This will reduce your cavalry cost by 10%, as well as increase your cavalry combat ability by 10%, by ensuring the rights of the nobles so that they may buy pretty horses. Indeed. This will save you roughly 0.052 ducats per cavalry unit, which, if you have about 20 cavalry units in an army of 100, will save you a fair bit of money, as you might imagine. However, the cavalry combat is the real selling point here, and if you can't afford cavalry, well, why are you in the aristocracy anyway? Your next trip through the ranks of the aristocracy will be to join the local nobility, which will increase hostile core creation on your country and increase your income from vassals. Both of these are quite nice. In multiplayer especially, hostile core creation will often prevent other players from wanting to take your land, simply because it's a pain in the ass to core it. As well, the income from vassals can prove useful if you have a lot of subservient nations, which, as an aristocrat, why wouldn't you? Furthermore, the AI also sees it as an issue to grab land from someone who has increased coring costs, so something else to keep in mind. Once you have established yourself as a local noble, the next thing you'll want to do is establish the serf system, and this will increase your national manpower by 25% simply because you know where to recruit all the peasants in times of war, and with that 25% manpower advantage over your enemies, well, you'll be in a much better place when it comes to times of war, since it will increase your maximum and the rate at which your manpower returns. The next thing you'll wish to do as an upstart noble is adopt some noble officers, and this will reduce the army tradition and navy tradition decay of your country, making it easier to maintain army tradition after long, prolonged periods of war, which are easier to obtain with your newfound manpower from the serfs that you've just put on your lands. Furthermore, combined with quality or defensive ideas with that military tradition, it makes your resting point much higher, making it easier to get better generals on average. The next thing you'll want to do to expand the aristocracy is to get international nobility, which will give you an extra diplomat in case you're perhaps a duchy looking to expand your external operations, shall we say, and perhaps seek things across the globe with that new diplomat. Or perhaps you'll use him to fabricate claims on a neighboring country while improving relations with your vassals. The decision is yours, really. Now that you've established yourself a little bit as a local noble, you'll be able to pick up noble resilience, which will make it easier to reduce war exhaustion in your country during times of intense war, which may be an issue if you're rich enough to wage as many wars as it would need to get to those horrific points. The last thing you'll want to do as an aristocrat is pick up military traditions, which will reduce your military technology cost by 10%, since everyone in your country is fairly familiar with the military and respects them, because your nobles are so entrenched into society. This will prove especially useful in countries that don't always have access to institutions, and thus have rising tech costs. And lastly, of course, when you fully unlock your aristocratic self, you will have an additional leader without upkeep, which again is quite useful for duchies, but can also be useful for countries with especially large armies, and in the late game, when these things are more relevant. Now, in addition to the bonuses I've just described for joining the aristocracy, the next thing that you'll be able to get for taking aristocratic ideas are a nice set of policies if you take certain other idea groups. For starters, trade ideas will give you an additional merchant and trade power abroad, which can be quite useful, especially for diplo points per month. Next, we have the Witchcraft Act. Yes, of course, we can't have witches in our country now, can we? With religious ideas, which will give you national unrest -1 and missionary strength +1%, which can be quite useful for converting tricky provinces and making provinces that aren't your religion easier to convert. Next, you'll get diplomatic ideas, perhaps, if, the extra diplomat you got from aristocratic wasn't enough, and you'll see a benefit in the form of yearly legitimacy. Perhaps you decide to stay as a monarchy. This can be a very easy way to ensure that your throne is stable. Next we have Exploration Ideas, which gives you an additional diplomat and some diplomatic reputation for obtaining those hard-to-obtain alliances and other deals. Next we have Administrative Ideas, which will increase your improved relations, which also helps deal with aggressive expansion, in addition to lowering your aggressive expansion impact. These do cost military points, but if you're looking to expand quickly, this can be an additional aid to you. Next we have Economic Ideas, which will give you national tax modifier, plus 10%, and your legitimacy, a nice little thing for monarchies and countries which have high taxes, such as France and England. Next we have the Combination Act from Innovative Ideas, which will give you production efficiency plus 20%, quite powerful in the late game, I would say. And for those looking to take quality to further increase their cavalry, they'll probably also want to take Innovative anyway, so there's a nice combination there. Next we have the Espionage Ideas, which will give us cavalry combat plus 20%, and with Aristocratic, Espionage, and Quality Ideas, you can get up to plus 40% to cavalry combat, which is especially great as Poland, who already gets a massive bonus to cavalry combat as it is, as well as horde countries and some of the Middle Eastern nations. By itself, though, this is 40% as opposed to the 30% you can get from Quality and Innovative for infantry. Next we have Humanist Ideas is another good bonus. We get additional production efficiency plus 10% and religious unity plus 20% as well, which can be helpful if you're conquering savages, for example. And lastly, we have Influence Ideas, which will lower your national unrest -1 and give you vassal force limit contribution. Normally vassals give you an additional force limit point per vassal, now they will give you 2 instead, which is not that great, but national unrest is pretty nice. The last thing you'll want to consider about joining the aristocracy, as wonderful as it is that you'll also be able to you have the opportunity to take Influence Ideas as well, and get the option to adopt an oligarchic administration. This used to be tied to 20 provinces, but now lasts up to a certain point in the game, if not the entire game. I'm not entirely sure. But it's important to note that this will allow you to become a republic, which, ironically enough, by promoting your aristocracy, you have also improved the lives of the normal people by giving republican cultural sufferance, which will further reduce unrest, increase local tax, manpower, and sailors from non-accepted cultures, which may be quite useful if you're spanning a large empire, for example. And this is just one of the things you can look forward to by taking Aristocratic Ideas. Now, stop being a peasant and go give it a shot for yourself, and I'll see you next time. Godspeed, you brave souls.